Hi, I'm Rashab. Here's a visual representation of you when you try to add fractions. Well, we're here today to change that. Adding fractions is a pain in the pancreas, but it can be fun. Yeah, that didn't really sound right, did it? Let's put it this way. Adding fractions is like chores. Nobody likes them, but we all have to do them. Studies show that over 5 in every 4 people have trouble with adding and subtracting fractions. But that's not the point. The point is that today, my mathematician friend will try to ease your burden when it comes to adding and subtracting fractions. This may not help you. This may actually make things a little more confusing. But for us, it made things easier. And if it doesn't make things easier for you, just deal with it.
Before I start, I want to tell you that we were going to do this on a whiteboard, but we realized that you would get too distracted by my awesomeness. So we're doing this in a way that you can't see my face. As we learn fractions at a rather young age, we apologize in advance for the childish mnemonics that we use to help you with fractions. So first, adding fractions. Let's use 2 fractions first. Instead of 2 actual fractions, we'll just use variables. So a over b plus c over d. If the denominators b and d are the same, then we would just have to add the numerators a and c together and use the same denominator. For example, 1 over 5 plus 2 over 5. We do not do anything to the denominator, so we would just add the 2 numerators, 1 plus 2, which equals 3. So it is 3 over 5. That is simple, but adding fractions is rarely ever this easy. Most of the time the denominators aren't the same, so we need to make them the same. So here's the trick. Let's go back to the variable fractions a over b plus c over d. The way you have to do it is to multiply the 2 numerators and denominators diagonally. So a times d and c times b. And we have to multiply both the denominators, so b times d. So now we have ad plus bc over bd. The trick to remember this is the Power Rangers way. Yes, you heard that right. Look at this clip from Power Rangers. First, Blue Ranger with A and D, then Yellow Ranger with C and B, and finally Red Ranger with B and D. It's just that simple. Let's take 2 easy fractions first. 1 over 2 plus 2 over 5. So Blue Ranger multiplies 1 times 5, which equals 5. Then Yellow Ranger with 2 times 2, which equals 4. And then Red Ranger with 2 times 5, which equals 10. Now everything is easier. 5 over 10 plus 4 over 10, which equals 9 over 10. Now let's take difficult fractions. 8 over 17 plus 4 over 13. You may need a calculator for these. So we go Blue Ranger 8 times 13, then Yellow Ranger with 4 times 17, and finally Red Ranger at the bottom with 17 times 13. If you do all the calculations, you will get 104 plus 68 over 221. Add that together and you get 172 over 221. After that, check if you can simplify the fractions, if it is required. In this case you can't because the GCF or greatest common factor of 172 and 221 is 1. Now subtracting fractions. Subtracting fractions is pretty much the same. Let's take for example 7 over 9 minus 7 over 10. It doesn't matter if the numerators are the same because the denominators are different. Thus we need to use the Power Rangers method. So first Blue Ranger with 7 times 10. then Yellow Ranger with 7 times 9, and finally Red Ranger with 9 times 10. When we do the calculations, then we get 70 minus 63 over 90, which equals 7 over 90. Can we simplify this? No. So that's the answer. Let's take something more challenging, shall we? That was a rhetorical question. 26 over 31 minus 12 over 15. So first we have to go Blue Ranger 26 times 15, then Yellow Ranger with 12 times 31, and then Red Ranger with 31 times 15. If we do the calculations, we get 390 minus 372 over 465, which equals 18 over 465. Can we simplify this? Yes, we can. 18 is divisible by 3, and so is 465. A simple trick to tell you if a number is divisible by 3 is to add up its digits. If the sum is divisible by 3, then the bigger number is divisible by 3 also. 4 plus 6 plus 5 equals 15, which is divisible by 3. So 18 over 465 can be simplified. 18 divided by 3 is 6, and 465 divided by 3 is 155. So the answer is 6 over 155. Now let me show you some sneaky little tricks that can make adding and subtracting some fractions a bit easier. Sometimes you don't have to show your work on tests. It becomes very convenient to add fractions in some instances if you don't have to show your work. All it takes is a few tricks up your sleeve. Tricks can also help in real-life situations when you need to add fractions without a sheet of paper. Here's one sweet trick. When you are adding two fractions that have 1 as their numerators, then there is a simpler way than the Power Rangers method. Take 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3. All you have to do is add the denominators together. That's your numerator. Then multiply your denominators together, and that's your denominator. Let's try it. 2 plus 3 equals 5, and 2 times 3 equals 6. So it's 5 over 6. You don't have to do all that work. If you have to show your work on a test, you may get confused by this, but it's a very useful trick in the long run. Let's try another example. 1 over 5 plus 1 over 7. Five plus 7 equals 12. 5 times 7 equals 35. So it's 12 over 35. Just that simple. Now we can use the same trick in subtraction. Let's try a difficult one. 1 over 13 minus 1 over 17. You have to be a little careful with subtraction because you want to make sure you can check whether your answer is supposed to be positive or negative. We all know that the bigger the denominator gets, the smaller the actual value gets. So if you are subtracting a fraction with a smaller denominator from that of a bigger denominator, you are supposed to get a negative answer. In this example, we should have a positive answer since 13 is smaller than 17. So the way you do this trick in subtracting is to find the difference between the denominators. That will be your new numerator, and the product of the two denominators will be the new denominator. Let's do it. The difference between 17 and 13 is 4, because 17 minus 13 is 4. Then the product is 221. So the answer is simply 4 over 221. Wasn't that easy? Here's a useful tip. Two consecutive numbers don't have any common factors over 1. For example, 720 and 721, which are two consecutive numbers, don't have any common factors other than 1. So the fraction 720 over 721 cannot be simplified. Many people spend too much time trying to simplify fractions. The trick is that the GCF of any two numbers cannot be more than the difference between them. This is a really useful thing to know when you have to find the simplest form of a fraction with big numbers.
Thank you, Aditya, for that wisdom that you have shared with us. As I said, hopefully this does help you. And if it doesn't, well, I guess you're just going to have to keep dealing with